You do not need to diagram this, but just to make sure we're totally clear about this, what is the flaw?
False contrapositive.
False contrapositive, right? In a nutshell, if you have immunity, then what happens?
You don't develop
No symptoms.
No symptoms, not harm. Well, I wrote not H, but not harmful, right? Actually, I didn't diagram this one, and I don't think I would. Okay, but just to clarify what's going on here, since many people are exposed to S without developing any harmful symptoms, no S, right? That's the second premise. Premise 1, premise 2, conclusion. It follows that they have an immunity to infection by this microorganism. That's a false contrapositive, right? Can anyone describe this false contrapositive? They are treating
What is necessary is sufficient.
what is necessary for,
Sufficient for I.
yes, what is necessary for I as if it were sufficient for I, right? Okay, good. Now, did anyone draw this argument like this, or in their head think of it like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is technically incorrect, and it might not matter in a lot of cases because what's going to happen? You're going to make the same mistake in the answer choices.
It's too consistent.
So in a parallel reasoning question, it often doesn't matter, but I do want you to be aware of this because this is an easy way to get rid of wrong answers. If the wrong answer has an if-then statement in the conclusion, you might be like, cool, sounds good, look good to me. If you recognize this as two separate clauses, because it really was, right? You had a sense, then you had a comma, and then you had it follows that. That wasn't an if-then statement. That was this thing happened, therefore this other thing will happen. That's not if-then. If you recognize it as this, which it really is, when you see an if-then statement in the conclusion, you can cross that answer out right away. Right? Like that's dead wrong, because there are arguments that look like this. You can make arguments like this. You can say, if I, then not S, therefore, if not S, then not I. You can say that. But this is different. This is, not S happened, therefore I happened. Okay. Answer choice A. What's the first clue that this is wrong?
There's no like if then,
There is an if-then.
but at the beginning, that's the premise.
There is an if-then as the beginning. What's the if-then?
Everything morally right is just.
Everything morally right is just. Everything is all right. That's universal. So that's an if-then statement. If morally right, then just. So far, so good. Because we don't care about whether this is positive or negative, right? Okay, what else? What makes this wrong then? What's the first clue?
Goes into some actions.
Some actions that best serve the interest of everyone are
Not just.
not just. What's going on? What's the problem? Everybody's looking down. I got this one right. I don't need to worry about it. I'm good.
So it's not I. It doesn't serve. I mean, or
Well, right here. Why can we stop right here?
Because it's not the same.
Yeah, what did the original do?
It took the necessary condition as
Yes.
sufficient.
Yes, it took the necessary condition as sufficient. It affirmed the necessary condition, right? We had this as the necessary condition. It said, yeah, that's true. This says,
Oh.
no, that's not true.
wait. So we should draw these out so we can do this.
No, hopefully you see this in your head. You see if then, you see, okay, this is A is going to B, and now they're negating B rather than affirming B. If you have to draw it out, but this is the concrete reason why this is wrong. This is dead wrong, right? This is, remember the hierarchy? Hierarchy number 1 was if-then statements in their relationship, right? This is like taking that if-then and negating or affirming the necessary. This is denying the necessary. This sounds like a valid argument. I don't know how it ends, but it doesn't matter. We don't have to go any further. All right. Answer choice B. What's the first clue that this is wrong?
It doesn't start with an if-then.
Yeah, advertisers try to persuade people. Okay, could you turn this into an if-then? You could. You could say, if you're an advertiser, then you try to do this. But then it says, since writers of fiction, are not advertisers, what's that doing? That's like, if you're an advertiser, then you try. Writers of fiction are not advertisers. In other words, not A. So what's this? Why is this wrong? The original did what? It Affirm the necessary, and this is
Negating the
The
sufficient.
negating the sufficient. This is flawed, right? But it's not the same kind of reasoning. Okay, answer choice C. Isabel, will you please tell us about this one?
You can spell it the same way.
Oh, the right way. The right way.
Yeah, so the first sentence isn't an if-then statement.
No. Does that mean that it's
You could
wrong?
turn it into one.
It could be somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And notice the if first statement is what? It's a what kind of statement? Anyone? Izzy, do you have a guess? It's a belief. Now, it doesn't make it wrong. Maybe they just added superfluous information. I'm more concerned about the fundamentals of the argument, but it is something weird, right? Where's the conclusion here?
She did not do so.
Yes, obviously, though, she did not do so. She did not take her medicine is the conclusion. They gave it to us out of order. That we don't care about, right? That's just the order of the argument. The order doesn't matter. Okay, what's the rest say? Medication either cures diseases or alleviates its symptoms. Is that an if-then statement?
Yeah.
It is. It says, if you take medication, then you will cure or alleviate. Sound good? This or, by the way, doesn't matter. If you negate that necessary condition, then that's just a subject matter choice. Did you want to have 2 items or 1 item in your necessary condition? We don't care. So, Izzy, what happens?
And then still ill, so I guess, I don't know, that could be not cured and not alleviated.
That sounds like Isabel was not cured and the symptoms had not been alleviated. In other words, this argument is valid or invalid? This is valid. If neither of these things happen, then the medication must not have been taken. This is negating the necessary as opposed to affirming the necessary.
You said that it doesn't matter if there's an or,
Yes.
C or A, but doesn't that change the number of concepts? So
It does change the number of concepts, but one way you could think about this is you could think of this as like, this is one concept, this is an event,
Okay.
and we're just as long as we negate that entire event. Like if this said not C, then that would all of a sudden become a problem.
Okay.
Because you're not negating the whole thing, you're just negating part of it.
So when would they be separate? If it said like M, C, and A, would that be 2 separate concepts?
You could think of that as one too. Like these 2 things happen,
Okay.
and that's the event. Now, granted, if you had one argument that looked exactly like this, another one that didn't have or,
Yeah.
then I would go with the one that didn't have or. Because it's more similar.
Okay.
But a lot of times people read like sentences like this in parallel reasoning. They say if M, then C or A, and as soon as they see or, they're like, "Oh, this is dead wrong." That's putting the or like way up on the hierarchy, and that could just be like a subject matter choice. Your choice could be, I don't even remember what S was, but no symptoms, right? You could say, "Hey, that person didn't show symptoms," or you could say, that person didn't show symptoms and they were happy. That's just the outcome. And you decided to describe it as 2 things or 1 thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Sound good?
So C is valid, a valid argument.
A valid argument. So that's problematic, right? Because we're looking for an invalid one. When, what does when mean? If. So if subjected to tax, then less willing to expend. This is a good start. If subjected to tax, less willing to spend or expand or whatever. The recent decline in business expansions thus shows that their taxes are too high. Okay, so recent decline. So we have they're less willing to spend in essence. Thus shows that their taxes are too high.
Wait, but how do you know that less willing to expand their business is equal to recent decline?
Shows that the recent decline in business expansions, they become less willing to expand their businesses. That's
But that
pretty
doesn't
similar.
necessarily mean that
It's
they're
not exactly the
willing.
same. You're absolutely right. This is like L O, and this is like L1. They're related, right?
Yeah.
But they're different. So we could say, hey, this is not exactly the same. Let's keep it open. But at least the fundamentals are okay, right? Like if you consider these things similar, this is affirming the necessary. So let's take a look at E. Studies show that. That's weird, but let's keep going. Doctors tend to wash their hands less often than any other healthcare professionals. Okay, good to know. This shows that the procedure cannot be of much value in preventing disease. That just doesn't, there's no if then.
Right.
There's no necessary, there's only one conclusion and one premise. So I would go back to D. D is the most parallel, even if it's not a perfectly
Didn't
parallel.
even click when I read it.
Sound good, Jay?
Honestly read it. Yeah.
I just got them on instinct. I like didn't like. I'm still not like. It's a very much a process.
Okay, that's all right. We want to get them by instinct and then confirm our instincts so that we can be confident as to why they're right, right? And then slowly, as you get to the harder ones, you're good. Gotta go fast. So let's do these last 3.